Hello. I'm so excited to have this conversation with my dear friend, Kris Carr. So Kris is going to hop on here any minute. And there she is. She's the first one on. Oh my gosh, such a good Virgo. She's so punctual. Okay. So let's see. Here we go. Live with Kris Carr. Yay. Hi.
Hey.
Oh, I think we have the same glasses. No, similar. They're not the
Similar.
same, but they're similar.
No, but I wore them in your honor. Hi.
You're so sweet. Hi. How's it going?
So good. Of course I'm the first one on because I want to make sure I get it right.
You're like, that was awesome. Like, look at
Kris
her.
is going to join in a second. Oh, she's here.
so on it. Okay, my friend. So this is so much fun. So I've been having these conversations, a series, which is making me want to start a podcast, but that's for another time. But I've been having a series of conversations with women like you who I adore and who I admire, who at some point in the last, 3 to 5 years, we've had a conversation where, where you talked about wanting to simplify or wanting to do less, and where there's been kind of that thread. And P.S., I just want to say I could literally have, that's a conversation I have with every ambitious woman I know, but I just wanted to talk to you about that. So Kris, welcome. If you don't know Kris Carr is the author of Crazy Sexy Diet, Crazy Sexy Kitchen, Crazy Sexy Cancer Tips. She is a cancer thriver. She is a wellness advocate. She is a beautiful dog mom. She's a dear friend. So that's Kris. Okay, so I want to start with, we're just going to go right in. At what point did you know, like what happened in your life that indicated it was time to make some changes in your business to find more space?
Two very big things. Number one was my dad was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. And so that was like a shit hit the moment for our family. And I knew that I needed to make space to help him navigate his journey and to help my mom and to really show up for the two people who matter in a very big way to me. And so I couldn't keep doing what I was doing. And it wasn't something I could put off, like when people really need you, that is the time to show up. And so that was number one. It was like, oh, we're going on another cancer journey as a family. And my journey taught us a lot. I feel like my journey was a dress rehearsal for everything we needed to know for my dad.
Wow.
And for those of you out there that don't know, I still live with stage 4 cancer. So I've been in this role for a long time. And so that was the biggest reason why. And the second reason is I wasn't happy.
And how did you know you weren't happy? What were the signs? Because I feel like many folks aren't happy, and it's so normal that we just don't know.
Yeah, it's like that frog in hot water. You just keep doing it, and you don't know till it's too late.
Yes.
There's a lot of reasons, or a lot of things that came up for me. Is just like sitting down to write became a slog, and writing is my most favorite thing to do on the planet. Right. And so that became like to write. This sucks. Why am I a writer? You know what I mean? Like, I had the suckiest life. Like, now you have the best life. What's happening?
Yeah.
So that was one thing. And also I didn't have a lot of energy, it's just all the things that happen when you can start to feel depressed.
Mm-hmm.
My sex drive was in the toilet. I was cranky. I was snappy. I was just like, I just went through a period where I was not myself,
Yeah.
And I had to look at it and say, like, okay, what's going on here? If you're honest with yourself, what do you need to change in order to get back into alignment with your spirit? and to come home to yourself and to be in your joy and to be able to walk this next 4.5-year journey with your family and hold really big space. You know, something's got to give.
Yeah. It was 4.5-year journey with your dad.
Yeah.
With his cancer journey. Wow. It's a long time. Yeah. So I want to note that there's so many elements that are important to note here, but one of them is to note that this occurred, this time of realizing you weren't happy, realizing you needed more space to be able to show up for your family. It happened after you had achieved so many of the things that so many folks think are the things that are like, you know, New York Times bestselling books, being on Oprah, having a 7-figure business, marriage, beautiful home, you know, the stuff, right? That we're like, all like, oh, once then I'll be happy. So I think it's just really important. And what do you, like, talk to me about that. Like, what do you think about that? And P.S., it's not that those things don't make you happy, right? I don't think it's like I think that's a false dichotomy, but.
That's really great. You know, it's interesting because when I finished, I think I was the closer of the last Hay House I Can Do It in Fort Lauderdale in 2016. I might get the date wrong. But so it was like the final
like one. The last one they had ever.
The last one they had ever. And I was the closing keynote. And I loved doing that. We got to spend a lot of time together doing that, traveling, seeing all the people, doing all the things.
The traveling show.
The traveling show. And what a wonderful experience for 6 years of my life. But I remember feeling like at that point, I was kind of burnt out. I had been hustling hard. And I remember having that thought, getting off the stage and being like, oh, now that this chapter is over, I can do X, Y, Z. Yeah. Right. And I got home that night to my parents' house because they lived closer to me. They lived closer to me than where I live in upstate New York. And my plane was delayed and all the things that happened. I was like, Mom, can I stay over? I think I'll fall asleep if I don't get off the road soon. She goes, yeah. And I got there and she was like in slacks. She was like in slacks on the good sofa with the lights on at midnight. And that only happened when, you know, I got caught drinking and doing all these very bad things that I thought were quite wonderful as a teenager. and that's when she said, you know, there's a mass on your dad's pancreas. So I just thought it was so interesting that I was in that place of like, now that this is over, I'll live, I'll slow down. And for me, it was about slowing down. It wasn't about the next, you know, big mountain to climb and put my flag at the top of it. Yeah. It's exciting to do big things, but I feel like that's the big things. The big thing is actually to be happy. The big thing is to create a life that you love that's sustainable. The big thing is to give yourself space to be you. You know, all the rest, those are great achievements, wonderful. They're notches on your belt. I mean, you'll feel good. You'll have something great to say at a cocktail party. But it's really not what it's about. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So what was happening in your business that was preventing you? Of course, listen, I don't want to oversimplify anything.
Right.
Everything is a complex constellation. But for the purposes of today's conversation in public.
Yeah. I won't give you all of the dirty secrets because then you will not think highly of me, people.
What were some of the things, some of the aspects, some of the ways you were running your business that were preventing you or that were making you feel like, oh, I just want to slow down. Like, I just want to get off and I just want to acknowledge, like, I don't know what's happened to Instagram. The trolls are out lately. So I just ignore them, but they are here.
Yeah, I just saw some of that. That's so funny. See, this is why Grandma doesn't know these things because she doesn't go live very often.
We just there's so many wonderful real people here, so we just, you know, shine our love.
We just shine our light through them. Trolls, ask a good question. Don't post boobs and fingers up in the air. Learn something with us. We're here for you. Cut it out. Do you know what I mean? You're real people out there. Let's do something. Let's get to
Yeah.
business.
I don't even
Okay,
know how
sorry.
that works. I guess they are real people. I don't even like, I don't understand technology enough to know. Oh, yes, they are real. Okay, thank you.
I probably just stirred the pot.
It's perfect.
Okay. What was happening in my business? Come back, Kris. I think two things were happening. I was probably focused on some of the wrong things. You know, I was focused on the next thing as opposed to growing deep roots. And really like watering my garden, pruning what I had, growing deeper roots, making a bigger impact, because you can get to this place where you're like the next launch, the next thing. And then it's the next yes, and not be able to realize that you need to start saying no and do some housekeeping.
Yeah, totally.
And so I made a conscious decision to get off of the hamster wheel and do some deep gardening, pruning, housekeeping. And it's not a fun process. It's not glamorous. You know, it's not like, oh, did you see what she just launched? You know, it's not that at all. It's all this behind the scenes deep work that I think that if we treat our businesses well, they will thrive. They really will, but they deserve care and maintenance and focus. And I think that through that simplification process, I was able to start growing again in a way that I'm excited about.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome. So I love that you're using gardening analogies, because I love to look to the earth as our best teacher for all the things, but especially for how we grow our businesses. So one of the things we're doing behind the scenes it is behind the scenes, I guess. It's not behind the scenes of my company, but with some of our customers, is we're doing this thing called the No Challenge. And for 8 days, we are saying no to one thing a day in our businesses and in our lives. And I'm curious, what are some of the things that you decided to start saying no to that you had previously been a yes to? Because I think, you know, just because we're saying yes to something for a while doesn't mean it's a yes forever.
That's a really great question. I mean, basically, I say no to everything. So the rest of, you know, like I say no to things like this. I say yes to you. You know, I say yes to the people and the experiences that are going to really light me up and give me joy. And we don't get to hang out, so if I get to hang out with you here, that's great. But I've pretty much said no to everything. And honestly, that can be a really scary thing to do, because sometimes you feel like, well, will people stop asking me? Will I become irrelevant? Will I, you know, what all the things that you imagine can happen, or that people tell you can happen. You know, I've gotten a lot of business advice that's basically like, if you stop producing, if you stop writing books, you will be forgotten. You have to pick up the pace. You have to have a book a year, every other year. Like, you know what I mean? And for a while, I listened to that. Like, oh, you know, especially if you have a business and you have mouths to feed, you know, it's not just you.
Oh, yeah.
You've got a whole team they're reliant on their support and their benefits and all the great things that you hopefully get to offer them. So I had to come to terms with that and just say, yeah, but there's no way I can prune and simplify if I'm saying yes to everything that's outside of what's really going to make an impact for us. So I always start with the outcome first.
What do you mean by that? Tell me more about starting with the outcome first.
The outcome is basically, what is the return on this investment? What is this going to do, not just for me as a person, but for us as a business collectively?
Yeah.
You know, even I'm pitching my next book right now, and it's been a 6-year hiatus. So I've had a nice rest, and I'm excited to do it, but I'm also clearing a lot of space so that I can do it, because those of you out there who've ever written a book and run a company at the same time, those are 2 full-time jobs. It's like authoring and CEOing are really freaking hard to do at the same time. So it's actually taken me a few months to even create my ideal week, my ideal calendar, to put the writing into the schedule without letting other things fall apart, including my marriage.
Right. That's a big one. Especially when you, in some capacity, you know, also work with your husband. And I don't know your current status on that.
No,
but,
he's right there. We work together.
Hi, Brian.
He's standing by just in case I screw up the technology. It's highly possible.
No, you're doing great. Once you hit the button, like you're just off to the races.
But what I was going to say, even pitching my book, I'm not pitching that book as Kris, the author. I'm pitching the book as Kris, the company.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I'm going in and saying, like, whatever advance comes back, I'm not thinking that this is just an advance for me. This is an advance for our business. This is every single person on my team is experiencing this. And so I have the opportunity to just really stand in my power and my worth more. And so when I say reversing, you know, looking at the outcomes and reverse engineering from there, that's how I look at it, you know. And certain things are going to be, yes, even if they don't necessarily have a direct return on investment, they may have a return on investment in my joy, on my, you know, for my heart, for my well-being. You know, I'll do anything for an animal any day of the week. I don't care, right? And so, but something else will have to come off the plate. And that's what I think through this process I've learned, you know, time is our most valuable resource. It's finite. Life is a terminal condition. I've said a million times, we're all going to die, but how many of us will truly live? Mortality teaches you that. You can't make more of it. I don't care what latest hack you're going to, you know, follow and get into and whatever. It's not possible.
Yeah.
You know, but we can decide how we're going to use it. All this stuff, you know, Kate, and you teach so beautifully.
I like hearing you say it.
Well, you teach it really well. And you've been an inspiration for me, you know, because I feel like you really, a few years ago, just said, I'm pivoting. This is what matters. I want to be happy. I have these adorable children, these little chickens that I want to just like kiss and love and be with as they grow. You know, my husband is amazing. He needs me to be fully me and fully present in our lives. Like, I have to make some changes, and this is how I'm going to get there. And I was like, oh shit.
I remember we were, well, you know, it was a combination of Mike got sick. I had, you know, Ruby was like 6 months old. Penelope was whatever. And things just kind of began to unravel. And like, we came to a place where we just had to literally basically fire everyone. And I remember telling you about it. And I was like, that was deeply uncomfortable. And it was the best thing we ever did. And that year we became 400% more profitable.
And that's what's so amazing about it. And we're also afraid to do that. We're like, if we don't keep it all going and all the plates spinning, like it'll all fall apart, and you know, then the business will collapse and all the things will collapse. And it's kind of the opposite. Yeah. But I think you have to kind of get kicked in the teeth a few times to really understand that.
Yeah, totally. No, it is like it's like, oh my God, I can't stop running, because if I stop running, like the world will collapse. And then, you know, like you said, then, you know, a diagnosis comes, or a baby comes, or someone has an accident, or a pandemic comes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and it's like, oh, I have no choice but to stop. So for you, because what comes up for so many of us.
Sorry, my child is just like it's clean already. The licking is
yes.
Spick and span, Lola. Spick and span.
Oh my God. Hi, Lola. I think for a lot of us, the reason we don't slow down is because of what's like just bubbling below the surface of all the activity. And I'm curious, did you have, as you made more space, now it's kind of different because you were moving right into helping care for your dad. So it's not exactly like you were like sitting around in the woods by yourself, right? But I am curious, as maybe the balance swung from more work to more space and more family, did anything come up for you around like beliefs or identity or fears and stuff like that?
Such a great question. Yeah, I think we don't stop because we're afraid.
Yeah.
A lot of fear came up for me, and a lot of grief came up for me too. You know, my therapist is so smart. She says that when we're in a place of anxiety, oftentimes people handle it two ways. You either get frozen or driven. And I'm a driven mother humper.
You are.
And when I get anxious, baby, it's on overdrive.
Wow. Yeah.
And so slowing down was something that would mean that I would have to feel more of like maybe my own unexpressed or unacknowledged fears about my own mortality, and also about what was happening with my dad, but also just, you know, uncertainty is frightening for anybody. You don't have to have stage 4 cancer to have that experience. You know, we all want to control it so that we feel safe. And when you say no and you do less, you're going to feel unsafe at first. You're going to feel uncertain. If your thing is anger, then that is what's going to come up to be healed. If your thing is grief, then that is what is going to, you make a little space and grief's like, fantastic. Now that you've made some space, I would love to sob, you know? And if it's fear, it's like, wonderful. I am going to be a fraidy cat now. You know what I mean? Like, that's what happens. And so, but I feel like if we don't give ourselves that space, we do stupid shit. Like, because what our feelings will be felt. We just may not like the outcome, going back to outcomes. We just may not like how they come out. And that's when sometimes I think you see people start to have implosions or explosions in their life. You know, it's all that stuck energy that needs to go somewhere.
That stuck energy. Yeah. And the overworking can keep that energy stuck.
Yeah.
I know. Like it has for me, for sure. And I had a big reckoning, which we haven't really had a chance to talk about, but I'll tell you when I see you. I'm going to tell the very short version right now, which is like, my husband got sick again in January, and I had a big reckoning. I bumped like headlong into burnout, and I was like, this is deeply embarrassing because this is what I teach. And I am so burned out and so exhausted, and I have this sick husband, and I'm, you know, responsible for the business and the money and the kids. And it's just like, and I actually did the thing that I thought I couldn't do, which is I just slowed down and stopped anyway. And it literally felt like, I mean, I don't know what death feels like, but like it just, that feeling, it felt like a part of me was dying. And I just spent days crying. And it was like, whoa. So that's what was in there. That's wild, you know?
So, good for you for being brave enough to do it. You know, I had a spiritual teacher in the early days of my cancer journey when I told him that what my prognosis was. And he said, congratulations. And I was like, what are you talking about? You know, I have to reconsider this, you know. And he's
You.
like, now you're going to like figure out how to spend your time. And so going back to that shame of being a teacher who teaches this and was burnt out, like, I don't want you to be burnt out because you're my friend and I love you, but I don't think I'd want to learn from you if you never had this experience. Like, the deeper you go into the experience, the good, the bad, the victorious, the better teacher you are, because you teach from that place. You know, if it was easy, I don't think there would be value.
It is such a good point. It's such a good point. Yeah. Okay. So, you know, 4.5 years ago, you got off that Fort Lauderdale stage and you were like, oh, thank God. Now I get to slow down. And then you got to your mom's house and there was a cancer diagnosis of your dad. And it was like, oh, actually, not going to be slowing down today. Right. So like, now here we are, you've been through this journey with your dad, and, you know, we don't need to dive into that because I know it's tender. But I'm curious, like, do you have, what are a few specifics in how you changed the way you run your business? Is there a smaller team now? Do you have fewer products? Are you working fewer hours? Like, what are some of those logistical shifts that you made in this incredibly major chapter that you've just experienced in your life?
Yeah, I right-sized my business. I have a much smaller team because I was throwing money into the fireplace. So I was like, wow, would you like a fire? Let's use money.
Wow.
Are you feeling warm? I'm feeling warm. I was throwing money into the fireplace, and so I decided to right-size my team and to really take a step back and look at my role in the company and to change what I was focused on, and to understand my systems in a way that I hadn't. So one of the things that can happen when your company grows and you have a lot of wonderful people on your team who are understanding the systems, as they should, because at some point you can't do it all. Otherwise you wouldn't be able to grow and scale your business. But I think what happened for me was there were enough areas of my business that I didn't quite understand. If you don't understand it, you can't lead it. So you have to have enough acumen to be able to hold people accountable, whether it's an independent contractor or somebody who's making a 6-figure salary.
Yep.
And so for me, that's all about outcomes. And if we're not hitting our outcomes, why? And so that was a big shift for me to kind of like get back in and say, oh, there's a lot of either energetic waste or financial waste, and thankfully, we're still doing very well, but to me, that's a huge energy leak. Yeah. And then there was just more people needed to keep the regular operation moving. Right. And so that was something I felt like I was like wearing my big girl panties, like, okay, I got to figure this out. I can't remember the question.
So that was a great answer to it, which was...
I'm in perimenopause too, and apparently, like, you don't remember stuff. You just have brain fog.
I think similar to being postpartum, which I'm not anymore technically because I now have a 3-year-old, but is my youngest, but I still I can't remember words. Still.
I love this conversation, but what are we saying?
I know I feel good.
Yes, I'm happy.
Happy right now. So I was just asking you, what were some of those specific changes, more tangible things that you had done? And you said you right-sized your company. And then I was curious, did you reduce your number of offerings or reorganize in that way?
Absolutely. I'm still in the process of doing that, which is really fun. Even this week I was like, I think we're going to kill 3 products.
Oh, yes. So sexy. I love that. It just really is energizing thinking about it's like that. It's like the tree is growing and you prune the arms of it, and there's so much more energy up the trunk.
100%. And if we just look at it from you're absolutely right about that. It's so important if we just go into the brass tacks of that. So, that saying, you can have it all, you just can't have it all at once. That's exhausting. Nobody ever say that to me ever again. Anybody who writes that in a book is a book I'm going to return.
I don't think you can have it all. I don't think any of us want it all.
I agree with you. And the thing that I come back to is all takes maintenance. All takes maintenance, and all of that is energy, and all of that is life force. So when you're super clear about what you want, and you can laser focusing on those and grow them deeply while also giving yourself your own space, I think that's where the magic happens, And so for me, it's really just about 3 products. And that's in in this year and next. Yeah. And then I have 1 or 2 more that I could see down the line. But they're all feeders into my membership. So to me, all roads lead to membership, and there are different ways in. Great. And I love my membership so much. It's something that I want to continue to grow. You are a huge catalyst because you know me. I'm a commitment phobe. I don't even know how I'm married. And so I was like, no. And then you gave me therapy for a lot of years. And now it's this is my happy place. So why am I going to spend all this other energy on the next thing when like this is my happy place that I want to just grow?
I love that. And I just want to say, I just saw your Instagram post that you're doing a $1 free trial for a week.
I am doing
this wasn't planned, but how can people find out about that?
Thanks, Kate. I mean, they could go to kriscarr.com. They could go to my Instagram and find that post, which was today's post, and click on it and come and join my wellness community where we do wellness things.
Yes. Well, I love that you have like one theme a month because it just is so doable from talking about all the things, right? You cannot do all the things from a wellness standpoint. I mean, there's literally infinite numbers of things between the ionic foot soaks and the, the colonics and the green juice and the water and the earthing and supplements. Hello. So I love that you just do one, like you focus on one thing, one theme a month.
Yeah. One theme.
One theme. Beautiful. Okay. So simplification of products, simplification of your team. Did you reduce your work week at all or adjust how it was allocated?
I did. And so I have to say I was very influenced by Michael Hyatt's work here.
I love him.
And I started to look at what my ideal week would look like. And then, so I have my ideal week and you're never going to hit it perfectly, right? But I have consolidated my days so that there's far more time for me to actually be creative. I think part of what was getting me tripped up before is I was just in like way too many meetings. Yeah. I was managing more than making. And so when I said I changed my role, like I am not meant to be a manager because I'm a terrible manager. And I'm so impatient. Nobody likes it when I'm managing. I'm just like, what's the deadline? When's it happening? When's it complete? They're like, well, there's 57 steps. I'm like, and so are we at 56 steps, 57? No, we're at step 1. I'm like, I'm very troubled.
Funny.
I'm not a good manager. I'll do it if I have to, but I am a far better maker. And my company's far happier when I'm in that place. And the culture.
So good to know that.
It's just so important. Without a strong company culture, what are you doing? So, yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that's one of those things that we focus right in on in Origin right away. And my membership is get to know your 80-20. Like, what are the 20% of activities that get you 80% of your results? For you, Kris, managing is not in that 20%.
Yeah.
For me, managing is not in that 20%. I'll do it when I have to, but I'm terrible at it. And it makes me cranky. And that's how you know you're not in your 20% because you're cranky.
Yes, you're cranky.
Yeah. Okay, amazing. So for anybody who is just starting out, because we've been having like more of a seasoned phone. Sorry, I just paused because my phone is going to die, but not right this second. I've got like probably 5 minutes. Such a pro. All
right, we'll make this fast, y'all.
No, we're good. For somebody who's just starting out, since we've been having, like, this is a little bit more of an advanced conversation of like, wow, I had this big team and now I'm simplifying, and wow, I had all these offerings and I'm simplifying. Do you think that Seaweed Hero is cranky? I just think that's
Hi, Seaweed Hero.
I'm cranky.
That's name.
Do you think that somebody just starting out can implement some of this, at least from a philosophical mindset standpoint? Like, or do you think it's really like you just have to do all the things at first and then you can only start to think about simplification once you've reached some level of expertise or experience or success?
Ooh. If that's the answer, I'm unpleased. I'm displeased with myself. I think that you've got the best opportunity to get it right in the beginning. If you hear this conversation today and something resonates and you're not in Kate's no challenge, get your ass in the no challenge. Get this in your bones now. I mean, I think when you're starting out, there's definitely some hustle that's involved. There's no doubt about it. I'm glad I started when I did. But I think if you can stay laser focused on one thing and and work backwards from there. You know, the one thing in your business is like, okay, what's my product? What's my offering? Right? And I'm going to focus on one thing. And maybe I'm going to start with an online challenge, and I'm going to make the challenge the product that also at the same time builds community. So it has this like ripple effect of positivity in your business. As opposed to being like, I need to write a book and be a speaker, and I need to make a course, and I have to make a membership. And then what happens is you don't do any of that shit. Right. You know, you buy all these products, you buy every single program that we know, that we've either created, promoted, or have ourselves. And you know what happens? You do nothing. You watch Netflix because you're overwhelmed.
Totally.
Instead of just being like, okay, I'm going to focus on this one thing. I'm going to get so good at this one thing. Yes. And then I'm going to grow. I'm going to build from there. I launched a mastermind this year, as you know. And it's also a huge focus of our conversation in the mastermind of like that simplification of focusing on the one thing that's going to move the needle and create a domino effect of goodness in your life and your business. Like both of those things have to be true, not just your business.
Yeah. And it makes it like, I feel so settled in my body when you talk about that one thing, because it makes every single other decision so much easier. Because it's like, I'm focused on, and you and I have similar business models at this point where it's like all roads lead to the membership. If it's not like adding to our community, whether from an enrollment perspective or from a retention perspective or from a satisfaction and joy perspective or from a results perspective from our customers, I'm not doing it, you know? And then it makes it just like, oh, well, do you want to do this course? Do you want to be an affiliate of this? Do you want to go speak on this thing? No, I don't, because it's not leading me to grow Origin.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I really like how you said that. So that was like a good reminder for me. And I agree, because the reason I asked you that question about like, does this apply if you're just starting out, is people ask me that all the time. They're like, well, you know, easy for you to say. You've been doing this for, you know, a long time. Long, I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it feels long. It's like 12 years.
Long time.
We are online grannies. That's for sure.
And it's fabulous. I love my tube of Bengay, my gin, and my naps.
But when it is, I do call myself an online marketing elder, like an elderly online marketer, you know, because we were around in the earlier days. And now I don't even know why I'm saying that. See, there it is. I don't even know why I was saying that.
Just about the...
Oh, I know. Because people ask me, well, easy for you to say, right? You've been around. But what about somebody just starting out? Don't they have to do all the things? And I think no, but that's why I wanted to ask what you think, because I just think if I had focused even 10% more or even 20% more in those early days, I would have really saved myself a lot of time and money and energy and heartache.
I completely agree with you. And so just to be clear, we're not saying you don't have to build a platform. All you have to do is Instagram. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's still some fundamentals of business that need to happen. But I think what happens is that we start to scare and compare. Like, we scare ourselves because we're comparing ourselves to all the other people out there and all the other new things out there and platforms and things that everybody seems to be doing. And we get spread thinner and thinner and thinner. And if you're just starting out, you don't have the resources to be spread that thin unless you are just, you know, are you coming into this with a war chest of cash already?
Right.
And I would say that when you get further down the road, sometimes it can be harder to simplify because there's so much shrapnel you got to deal with, right? So there's a lot to undo. And so if you can get it earlier, you're setting yourself up for long-term success in a way that I certainly didn't. And then I had a lot of housekeeping to do.
So true. Well, it's the same thing. Like if you don't buy as much stuff, you don't have so much decluttering to do.
Good point.
So simple, right? Like just stop going to Home Goods and you'll be all set.
But they've got great baskets.
They do. I mean, I love Home Goods and the throw pillows. I mean, I love it there, but I'm just saying, I stopped there to go pee the other day and I was like, I forgot about this place. This place is amazing. But thank goodness I was with my kids. So I was like, we got to get in and get out.
Yeah.
We are not buying baskets today, girls. Okay, Kris. So my last question is, you are talking to yourself when you were just starting out in the business world. And, you and I both know your start in the business world was not particularly on purpose. I mean, it came with a cancer diagnosis. It wasn't like, so unusual. But what would you want to impart to yourself, let's say around the time you were starting your first website, to say from wiser Kris?
Ooh. Wiser Kris. Oh, wow.
That's you now today.
Oh, that's me now. Okay, got it.
That's
got
it.
I would probably say find Kate Northrup and start hanging out with her.
You're sweet.
I would. I would give myself permission to follow my heart more, and to really focus on the conversation that we're having today. That's why I think it's so important. And it was an immediate yes for me to talk to you about this. I also would have launched my own, brass tracks. I also would have launched my own signature course a lot sooner. And so I was writing a lot of books and doing a lot of public speaking, and I was like a very high top affiliate for a lot of folks. And it took me a while to really focus on what I am here to do and how I am here to serve outside of outside of, I couldn't scale that, is what I'm trying to say.
Yes.
Scale yourself if you're out there speaking all the time and if you are writing books all the time. And so I would have found a way to scale sooner. And for me, that's through membership or an online program.
Beautiful. So beautiful. I just really appreciate one of them at a time. Yeah. Get one going so that it's systematized, so that it's scaling, so that it's working. And then and only then perhaps add another.
Yeah.
Don't do both at the same time. I agree with you on that. Okay. Awesome. So if you're listening to this conversation and you're like, that was good medicine, then please, I would invite you to go over to katenorthrup.com/info. You can sign up for an information session for my membership Origin that's happening next week, which is all about entrepreneurs who want to grow their businesses while having less stress. So more flow, more ease. I'm not saying it's going to be easy because it's not, but it could be a little easier. And then, of course, Kris is having a 1-week $1 trial of her membership. So please go find that over at kriscarr.com or on her Instagram. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Kris. I love you so much.
I love you too.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.